My name is Adebayo Ayodeji. Well, I was born on the 11th of April, 1930, Nondo town. I was born to Ayodeji family. My father was High Chief in Nondo, and my grandfather, was the High Chief too, High Chief Sachere, Nondo town. The first son of my father. And was at school for a short time, Ondo Boys High School. And I left the school at 16 after qualifying for the Cambridge School Certificate at the age of 16, which was quite remarkable then, with exemption from London matriculation. But then my father then said, "You're 16, you just can't go to Europe." I was going to do something else. I had to wait for 2 years. Came to Lagos here, just messing around. Stayed with my uncle here, who was urban pharmacy then. I was here for about 2 years and then left at 19. That was about 1949 or 50, 1949, 50. To the UK. Those days there's no flight. I had to go by boat. So I was in the boat with two other guys. One, Ogunro, now late, Dr. Ogunro, and another guy, Akikugbe, again late. The three of us were in SS Canada. It's a French boat. So we had to stop every stop on the French colonies, along the west coast, from here up to North Africa, to the Mediterranean, and then by train from Mediterranean to Paris. From Paris again to London by boat and all that. And anyway, the journey took 31 days. That's a hell of a long time to stay, but it was fun. We were young, we were enjoying it with the sailors because it was a cargo boat, It's not a passenger boat, but they took a few passengers those days. That was good fun. Saw the world through the prisms, the narrow prisms of being caged into a cargo boat. And that was it. Arrived in London, met by the British Council. Because of course those days, not many people were going to, the British were involved with all these arrangements, Met, put up in the hostel in London, called Hans Crescent, I think, here, where they put colonial students from all over the world. They're all colorful, From there, I had to go to my destination, which was Edinburgh in Scotland. I had to travel by train from King's Cross Station in London to Edinburgh city itself. That's the beginning of my medical career, really. Yeah. I just wanted to be a doctor, When you're young, you want to be something, what you want to do. I've always wanted to be a doctor, that's all. Maybe I was I was probably influenced by my uncle, late uncle, he was a pharmacist. And his urban pharmacy, they were the foremost pharmacy then. His original name was Alfred. And the band is Banjo, Marquis. They called Marquis those days, Lagos man. So the two of them formed the urban pharmacy. I was living with him in Lagos here. But that again encouraged me more or less to go into medicine. And that was it. But the thing was, I didn't have the schools here didn't have good science subjects, but you had to have science subjects to go into medicine. So that's another obstacle you have to go through. When I arrived there, I had to go to a really special coach to get the subject. I took the highest, they call it highest school certificate. The highest school certificate in England, they call it higher. They call it highest in Scotland. I had to take that before you went to the university, which I did. And then after that, going to the university. I was married, for example, while I was a student. I got checked. I changed university to Edinburgh, from Edinburgh to Dublin, as in Ireland, and then back here. And I was actually probably not going to. I wasn't encouraging. The situation wasn't encouraging. I didn't want to come back actually. A cousin of mine, Professor Dosseto, was the vice dean of the university teaching hospital. He started in 1962 and came to see me and said, look, you're qualified now, you better come home. You have to come home. We started the teaching hospital. So I was the first house officer there. Were 4 doctors. One Professor Jolome Thomas, who was the boss of the whole lot. He was the dean of the Faculty of Medicine. And my cousin was the vice dean, that's Professor Dorset. And then we had 2 other doctors, Dr. Elebute and Dr. Adeshola. They're both surgeons. And then I was the most junior. I was the house officer, just fresh from university. Then a few others came in to join us. One Dr. Johnson, Lagos chap, and one Dr. Diakosa, and he's probably late, both late. Junior officers, And that's it. That's how we started teaching hospital. Plus some American woman who was Department of Anesthesia, came from Rochester University in New York. And one Portuguese doctor from Portugal who was in the radiology department. That's all. That was the start of the teaching hospital. After I stayed there, I had to leave because I wanted to do obstetrics and gynecology. There was no obstetrics there and gynecology. I had to go to Island Maternity, the same Island Maternity. Or you just call it baby factory, was producing babies like rabbits. And I was a registrar there for 2 years until I went back to the UK to go to specialist training in gynecology and obstetrics. And came back, left here in 1969 and came back in 1971 to Lagos here. And of course, I wasn't going to government practice. I was on my own. I started my own practice in 1971, but doing general practice. 71. Was the most beautiful experience I had in practice here. It was like in Europe, even better those days, you know. It's fantastic. I refuse to go there near the place these days, you know. It's not just what it was. It was a fantastic place. I was very proud to be associated with the place. Yes, well organized. It was very well organized. Not so crowded as it is now. And we had a lot of help from abroad. Like I said, the Department of Anesthesia was an American woman, a woman who came from Rochester, New York, Rochester University. And I'm sure it's got to do with the teaching hospital, connection with maybe intergovernmental anyway. And like a professor of obstetrics and gynae from Dublin, one Professor Thompson in Ireland, and radiology from Portugal, you know. So very international staff. And yeah, it was quite smooth really, but we had a problem with accommodation initially for the staff, especially me, a junior staff. I had to live in Surulere, you know, very close to the teaching hospital. I was living in Surulere with my uncle who was living in Surulere then, until the university, teaching hospital rather, organized accommodation for us. So that's a bit of, that wasn't very, very pleasant, but it's all right. It wasn't too far from the teaching hospital. But later on, of course, the problem of accommodation was resolved. We had accommodation in the compound. Very nice accommodation for the staff. Very good. I mean, those expatriates who were here were just, they loved it. No, it was nice. Well, I did, but this accommodation thing was one really, that wasn't nice. My wife was expatriate and not used to relatively rough life in Surulere then, but she had to make do with it. But when we got to settle down on the compound, the teaching hospital were different. It's a nice environment, all that. It's good. I'm afraid I don't know. I was too busy with my practice, with the medical, you know. I wasn't particularly interested in politics, you know, then. I don't know how to answer that kind of question, really. But some of the students, because if you work in a teaching hospital, when I was a registrar there, because being half of my houseman to be a registrar, we had to more or less not lecture. We have to train undergraduates. They have to come for demonstrations and things like that. Some of them are in hospital these days, some in St. Nicholas Hospital, in other hospitals, you know. Echo Hospital here, I can remember very well. I think Cook was one of them. Who was then, I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Like I said, the condition of service for doctors, not very encouraging. So it's a risk to go into private practice. You're taking a risk. But if you're sure of yourself and you dedicate it, I think job satisfaction anyway. Generally speaking, I would say I couldn't picture myself as a doctor going back to work in government hospitals as those days, you know. But I've seen hospitals, and I wasn't comfortable. I wouldn't be comfortable to practice. But it's not an easy decision. Like I said, I had to go back again. I didn't just come here for the first time there. I had a stint for the first 1 year, I think, 2 years after 1971 when I came back at Yaba. One doctor, Jayesimi, died. He was a gynecologist, and his people wanted to sell his practice. What did you have? Not to sell, really, literally to rent where he was practicing. The place was called Women's Hospital in Yaba. Malaya Street, yeah, that's right, Yaba. So I had a hospital there. I inherited that. When I say inherited, not, I took over the hospital after his demise. But it's not the hospital really. But I had to move. So I was planning. Fortunately, I had my mentor then was Dr. Bello Sage. You've probably heard of his name. He's late now. He's a gynecologist. And I would leave my practice in Yaba, Malaya, there, to help him run his own practice. He's got a big practice in Nigeria Street in Yaba for gynae and obstetrics. So I combined those two. And I did that, I think, about two years. I got to go on my own. That's how it. That's why I thought to myself, I will never have a hospital. I don't believe a single man should have a hospital. It's impossible. The investment is too much. For one man to do that, no. And I like standard. It's got to be. If I can't do it, forget it. If I can't have the standard, I don't want to do it. That's why I didn't have a hospital. I never did after the Malay. All I had here was outpatient clinic. My referral abroad. Then. 1970. I haven't been working for nearly 20 years. Well, of course, you do occasionally help, you know. But for active practice, about 70, 72 or something like that. So I had time to enjoy my life. I mean, since 1962 till about, like I said, till about, you know, I started practicing in 1962 and I stopped practicing not up to 20 years ago. I stopped practicing about 10 years ago. Yeah, my first daughter, she's in Glasgow. She did archaeology. Of course, it's mixed, it's half Scottish, half. Yeah. And she's an archaeologist. Of course, they get married, and her children. Her son is doing astrophysics. The second child is in London. She didn't do medicine, none of them. Second one is with the AstraZeneca. This is a personal assistant to the MD. The third one is in King's College. It is in the medical place there. She's a hospital secretary. She was the only one really interested because she helped me out here when she was young in my clinic. So she's in King's College in London as secretary in the medical school. My fourth daughter, she did master's computer from Exeter University. She got MSc, Masters in Computer Science. She's the one who spent a lot of time here, married to a Nigerian, and not doing computer science. Again, that's a funny country. It's going to catering with some friends. Dr. Majakudumi's daughter and one Mrs. Ajayi lawyer. They have a company for catering. And my boy, he's got his own company in London, engineering company. I know, I don't believe, you can't force people to do what she doesn't want to do. I don't believe in that. They're not interested. The boy was interested in law. No, actually, I want him to come back here. We're going to fix up at the University of Ife to read law. And it was the beginning of cult and all that. And he would have his car damaged at the university at Ife. I got him out of the residence, official residence, put him in a resident outside hotel. Still no good. He left, went back to England. So he didn't do his law here, finish over there. That's all. It was beautiful, I said. It was proud to show people who come from abroad to go around. It was nice, fantastic place. Compared with anywhere in the world I've been to those days. But now, no. I don't know how the actual practice in there is. I don't go there, I don't know. But there's nothing to write home about. The situation on ground. Imagine a country of over 200 million people with all the wealth of this country, oil wealth. When I say wealth, oil wealth, not a single hospital. You can't say that you don't have to go abroad. Why? Why can't we have a hospital? Why do we have to go abroad for treatment? But a lot of our politicians do go abroad. Don't they see? Why do they go there? Can't we have something similar here? We've got good medical doctors here, well qualified, but they haven't got the tools. the condition of service is lousy. That's why you see them going to go to Saudi Arabia. It's just ridiculous, you know. No, it's disgusting, I think. That's what I say. It shouldn't be. What do we do with our wealth? I mean, health is wealth. No. The doctors are not well paid. The hospitals, rubbish. You know, it's no good. Like I said, virtually all my patients were expatriates. I couldn't send them to any hospital here. Fly them out. They rather anyway, they won't go. So, it's not very good. You do go you have some private hospitals, like I said, St. Nicholas Hospital, for example. It's all right, but that's a private hospital. And a few others, I think, around, all right. But as for government hospitals, not very impressed. Well, that's exactly what it is, what I've just said. You got to pay the doctors well for a start. The hospital should be there up to the standard, up minimum standard, conducive to good practice. Got to be there. And the practitioners must be paid well. Don't let this stop. Like I just said, you're not a doctor to be poor. They, like everybody else, want to live well. That's it. You have to have good hospitals. The hospitals are no good. Go to a general hospital here. It's crowded. No, it doesn't have to be like that, you know. Yeah. And like I said, remuneration of the doctors must be there. The health workers, the nurses, the paramedics, got to be paid well. The infrastructure must be there. I've heard of people operating with candlelight here. Imagine that. No light. Or no oxygen. That's crazy. So the infrastructure, not just the building. No. Of course, the building is important because it encompasses the infrastructure. But they have, I've never been to Abuja, for example. They have the National Abuja Hospital. Why don't our people go there? I mean, the politicians. There must be a reason. Why not? So that means it's still not good enough. We shouldn't be in that kind of situation in a country of over 200 million people. I told you, I play music, but I like classical music. I do have, European classical. And of course, I like our own stuff. I do have a good set of music. I relax by, you can see I love gardening. I love to garden. I do all this with the help of my gardener. And I used to boat a lot. Go up the creek, with my boat, up to Badagry, all on the lagoon. And stay overnight up the creek, and things like that. And riding. So I was never bored, and I read. I do read a lot. I'm very, especially with CNN, YouTube and all that, you know. Oh yeah, it was a lot of news from there. That's it. So it's never bored. I've never bored, did I? I eat good food. I love good food. Not Nigerian food is not particularly healthy, you know. I try as much as possible to lots of vegetables. I'm not a vegetarian by any means, but I'm not into like pounded jam of this or a bar like that, you know. No, not at all. No. If I'm going to eat that, you know, just a little portion. There's lots of vegetables and things. So fruits, like fruits. So my diet is not, I won't say it's Nigerian, no. It's a bit of Nigerian, a bit of other countries. I won't like to say European, you know, but not entirely Nigerian, no. I'll say part of my meal will probably be Nigerian. The rest is, well, if you like to call it European. But of course, you can't expect that. I've been married, you know, to Europeans 3 times. And naturally, I'm used to their way of eating habits. I like to cook. As a matter of fact, I do cook a lot. You can see my barbecue there. I do have barbecue. I do it myself, you know. Play table tennis and swim, of course. The pool is just dirty now because it's rain and don't bother. And the pool was built in 1984. I built it by Pedrocci. It's an Italian company. And I said I want it for, not just for, it's for exercise. And you can see it's quite long, you know, and it's still a section there. I used to swim a lot. A good diet, I think. Moderation in drinking. Everything in moderation, right? Yeah, I like horses from youth. My grandfather was a chief Sachere of Ondo. He was Muslim. I used to go to the mosque on a horseback. I was young, I can remember very well. I used to follow him, my grandfather down to the mosque on a horseback. I just love horses. And when I moved here in 1973, in Shonibari, yeah, my wife then, she was brought up in Australia, and a lot of riding there. So she liked riding. And a friend of ours, a Greek fellow, Barbaropoulos, was living here then, said, he was a member of the Saddle Club. I said, oh, let's go and have a look. That's it. So I joined the club in 1976. But the club itself was founded in 1969, by some British, well, probably British, of course. I can't remember their names now. Their names on the board in the club. With one man, I remember the name, it's Jamakani. It's a Syrian, not Lebanese, Syrian. And so I think the 3 of them formed the club in 1969. And one of the Jamakanis is, I think, is a relative of this Jamakani I'm talking about. This one is late, but the other Jamakani is in Niger Docks. I think he's the owner of Niger Docks. You know where they repair boats. But he himself, not as his brother or his late brother. And again, so I joined the club. It was virtually all expatriates. I was the only black man. And until one Dr. Adebayo, again, he came from, but much older than I was, came and joined the club with 2 of us. Adebayo from Ife. That's it. So it was quite, like I said, I felt at home with the whites because virtually all of them were my patients. So I was quite happy with them. And that's it. Like this Oregon place, it wasn't quite suitable, but we did manage somehow. And when we got the advantage to take this place, we took it. It was given to us by Governor Johnson. 1990, sorry. Governor Johnson. He was a sportsman. He liked sports. And yeah. Well, 1996. We moved to where we are now. We moved to Omale, 1975. Yeah, that's right. But we got the C of O 1996. That's what I got. It was Bolaji Johnson who authorized, who more or less gave us the land. But of course, nothing like a certificate of occupancy at those days, you know. To regularize that, we went into that in 1996 and got the C of O 1997. There was no obstacle for Nigerians to join, but Nigerians were not interested then, you know. But now, of course, majority of people now are Nigerians anyway. But those days, they're not interested. You can't force people to come and join the club. But there's no obstacle for Nigerians to join. But of course, it wasn't too expensive either, because we were buying horses then from Kaduna for about cheap 3,000, maximum 12,000 naira or something like that, you know. I don't think Nigerians were interested then. That's it. But they are now. And we used to ride in the bush. You know, it's not like now. It's more fun then than now. Because Omale was our place of fun. It was bush. We used to ride in the bush. And expressway, the Lagos-Ibadan expressway, was partly being constructed there. We used to ride on the other side of it, all over the place, you know. I would ride up to Sherry there, ride in the bush, stop there, have a barbecue and things, you know, it was fun. You can't do that these days. And they used to have meetings here. I had 3 guys who were living opposite here then. 1 German, 2 Germans. I mean, 1 German, 1 Swiss, and 1 Swedish. We were all living in those 3 houses opposite me here. I used to ride horses from there to here. And people respected us, not challenging us, you know. The cars would actually stop, you know, for us to move. It was nice. So I don't think there's any development at all, really. No, we're just trying to rebuild the place because it went down, because the expatriate left. That's one big thing. A lot of them left the country. I mean, Julius Berger, Strabag, the people built the airport then. You know, Cadbury's, all these people, Baja Paints, all the expatriates, they were all there. UAC, Vitaform and all that. So it went down because it left. Then, with the few that remained, not me alone, we tried to rebuild the place. But it's not very easy. We needed the money. Even for this C of O, we had to pay lots of millions to Lagos State. We had to do what we call debenture, levy members on the venture basis. Not much then, but at least it's covered the money we were supposed to pay the Lagos State for the cell phone, yeah. So it wasn't that funny. And like I said, it went down. And then till gradually we built it up again. Now we have 90% of our members are Nigerians. But before it was the other way around. Security there. One of the reasons. My wife was then attacked on Allen Avenue, coming from Saddle Club, broad daylight. She left me in the club. She said, "Take the kids home." I was still in the club. But she was driving herself, the Volvo. They were very just as well. The Volvo, strong car, you know. On Allen Avenue, she was attacked. But Allen Avenue is different now. There's no houses there, just a few houses. By the Alade market there, late 70s. So this has been going on, this robbery thing, it's been going on for a long time. And, but she was smart. She held on to the car and reversed back, slammed the car into the pillars in Alade market and flung the guys out, you know. But the car was right off. But at least the kids and herself were safe. So serious security has been bad. And as a matter of fact, the president then, one Mr. Dudine, he was MD of Vitafoam. He was shot at the gate by armed robbers. He was coming from GRA. He used to live, all expatriates lived in GRA then. They followed him from his home, but he recognized he was being followed. But he wasn't going to stop for them, at least to drive to the safety of Saddle Club. He got to the entrance, shot him. Again, I was involved. I had to have the X-ray. We located the bullet very close to the aorta, the big artery in the aorta of the heart. It's too close to touch, you bust it. Of course, I had to fly him home. They won't even touch it in England either. Just eventually, he died not because of that, but the bullet was left there all the rest of his life. So his son took over here. His son was a member too. That one was here for a while. So safety has been very bad. And even here then, I've been attacked here twice or 3 times by armed robbers. I'm surprised sometimes why I get cuts with my life, you know, with guns, you know. But not now, we have security around now. But then, there was not security, the thing was open. I was attacked 1984, here. And again, I've been attacked here 3 times. So security is very bad. It has been bad, but it's worse now. Well, I was in the golf club. I was in the country club. Again, I was the oldest member of the country club. But again, country club, forget it now. Taxi drivers are there now, you have your money. Then my wife was an actress in England. When she first came out here to the country club, and they organized a theater. You know, theater, an actress always be an actress, you know. And they call it Little Theater at the country club right now. But go there now. She came here to visit. Her photograph was still there, but it was still adjourned. All the, you know, the theater seats, you know, they ripped off. So yeah. She was so disgusted. Remove our pictures from the wall. And that's it. 1976, I'm one of the oldest now, I think. Great, again, those days, very few blacks. The SS Patriots, you know. It was fun. It was great. Yeah. I was a job satisfaction. And I've been very successful in my medical practice. Financially and job satisfaction. That's one big achievement. And to see my kids all well established, my family. I think the fact that I did some stint in the teaching hospital and a little stint in the army for 1 year or two, that's a bit of contribution to the country, I think. Yeah, I've had a good life. Yes, I think one should always think of regrets, but it's beyond me. I regretted the fact that I've been married 3 times, but that's beyond my control, really. Not at one time, you know. I got married. I think my regret, again, I won't call it regret because the kids, product of this marriage. When I was about 19, when I first got married in Edinburgh to a woman who was in the college with me, who died a few years ago with MBE, was awarded MBE by the British. Not because of me, but we've been divorced, you know, many years ago. So she wasn't just a nobody, you know. I regretted that. I married too young, too early. Like I say, I won't call it regret because I have the kids are all right, you know. I don't know. The regret is to see the country the way it is. I had all beautiful hope for this country. When I was living, when we had an independence in 1960, I was holding my British passport, you know. I threw it to them in England, you know, one Nigerian passport. That's terrible. I had to go surreptitiously to get it back fast. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I fear for the country, yeah. I feel the way we're heading. Unless we have a good government. We don't have good governments. We've been very unlucky with our governments. Until we have a good government, I don't see any hope. Now, the way we're going, it's too dangerous to think about. Some were honest, hardworking. Just that. Yes, that was. It was very hard. And I made an honor of my profession. It was honorable. Whatever profession you're in here, you try as much as possible to stay put and improve on it. Try your best. But of course, there's a limit you can do. You must try your best. to make the best of it here. But I'm not into saying you should go abroad. If we all go abroad, who's going to be here? It is a difficult question. And you may say, my kids, if I say come here, but they don't want to come. No, of course they belong here. They come and go. The opportunity is not here. And even when you want to do something here, they pull it down. They see you doing something, innovative thing. Somehow they pull it down. Look at, we're having problems in this Saddle Club, for example. Land grabbers, they want to grab it for supermarkets and things like that. Difficult, yeah. Yeah. Well, people think differently. We're like at least two separate countries, the way of thinking. Let's say the Southerners and the Northern way of thinking, completely different. And I think the British knew what they were doing. You want independence, you have it. But this is a mess they left us. And it's not very easy. It's nice if we can get all together as a country. It's a fantastic country. But we must get rid of tribalism, nepotism to get up in this country. There's too much tribalistic tendency, and nepotism is too much. Otherwise, I think we get on very well. A big country like this, 200 million people, a lot of oil and gas, although oil and gas, oil we have to buck up. The price of oil now is 50, isn't it, per barrel. We have to hope. We get good politicians. We need young people like you to go into politics. People who go into politics not thinking of just money, but think of the country. We need people like that. We'll go into politics for the country, not just for money. And I've seen some people do that. People who are trying their best to do that. But it's a formidable thing to do in this kind of country where money is the target.